We're now going to look at the impact and historical significance of the French Revolution. And so as we kind of go through this, we're going to look at all the different places and people that were kind of inspired and impacted by it. We're first going to focus on the impact of France itself, and we'll kind of start here with the political impact. In reality, the French Revolution has a very significant impact, obviously, on France, right? Clearly, it's the French Revolution, going to impact people in France the most. But French politics is one of the areas that really, we see the biggest amount of change happening in, because the French Revolution kind of sees the end of absolute monarchy in France, and it goes and brings about this idea of liberalism into the everyday lives of French people. You had the French philosophers, and while they did all this writing and talking and doing all these things that had influenced many others, most peasants, 90% of the population in France, maybe didn't have a huge experience with those French philosophers. And so the liberalism that had been embraced by other countries and the upper classes and that they had been aware of, they had largely not had an experience with. And so this, liberalism is now going to be, forefront of French politics. And liberalism, and that's based on the 19th century philosophies, are really going to stress the need to establish and protect natural rights. Okay, and we see this a little bit also in the American Revolution when when we create the Declaration of Independence and the American Bill of Rights. And in France, we see this kind of built around the idea and becoming used when the French go and write the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, right? And it's establishing, in that document, it establishes natural rights for citizens. The second element of 19th century liberalism that it emphasizes is constitutional government. And so they get rid of their absolute monarchies to make sure that, the government will be a republic, that is a representative government, that the people are the ultimate authority to some extent, which we then see again in the U.S. government when we have the Constitution and all the ways that our government is set up. When the French do this in their Constitution, in 1791, it's a big, giant leap forward in European politics. So once they kind of expand those things, one of the things that you have to also expand is voting rights and participation in the government. Now, there are limited voting rights given to the people of France, but in the original Constitution. But when France creates the Republic in a year later in 1792, it expands voting rights to more male French citizens than the Constitution had done. And so we see that this process is going to be taking place during the French Revolution. And then the final aspect of liberalism that is really propagated by the French Revolution is the idea of free trade. And we see some of this taking part in the liberal part of the French Revolution. They are going to get rid of a lot of internal tariffs so that goods can be traded more freely within France itself. And so all of these things are really happening during the French Revolution. And this would be a really good thing to talk about as a short response at some point, probably for sure a multiple choice of some kind. What were the impacts of liberalism on France? And these four things would definitely be something that I would look for in that, right? Great. In terms of social impact, the French Revolution is very important because we see the rise of the bourgeoisie or the middle class during the French Revolution, so that the very first liberal phase is being pushed along by this upper part of the third estate, the bourgeoisie. And they are going to be the ones that are well educated. They're going to be the ones that are going to push for more political rights. And they are really trying to, really narrow that gap or really collapse the gap between themselves and the nobility. And so by creating and having everyone become a citizen that's equal, you're really going to see the laws coming about that are going to force these things to happen. Society is, also establishing, Enlightenment reforms. We see the connection between, the Enlightenment and the French Revolution without a doubt. And there's certain freedoms like freedom of speech and freedom of religion that people have been talking about during the Enlightenment. And the French people are going to put these into place during the French Revolution. People are going to have the ability to actually move through social class, that you're not just locked in. Those are Enlightenment ideas, that you're not just born into a social class and that you have to stay there forever. There's that idea that, you can kind of make your own way through life to some extent. You no longer have to be, a member of the nobility to hold government positions. So now it's going to open up a new avenue of political involvement and social life to people that are not just the nobility. And so you have well-educated middle-class members of society who are going to start holding government positions, and slowly people are going to work themselves up from the bottom into a better position in life, okay? French Revolution not only has an impact on France itself, but it would also impact all of Europe. What we see here politically is that European monarchies are, not going in the direction of liberalism the way that the French are. Instead, we talked about the idea that European monarchies are actually really going in the opposite direction. They are rejecting liberalism to some extent because they fear that if they allow liberalism to kind of take hold, that the same thing is going to happen to them that happened to Louis XVI and his old lady, right? Which was guillotine, right? And so this is going to create some problems for them. And if we look at this piece of, British propaganda here, and I think it does do a good job of showing us the fear that these European monarchies have about the French Revolution. And so remember, and this is, it's called the contrast, 1793. So remember, the reign of terror in France is going on, and the British view of what's happening is kind of depicted here. So we take a look at the picture, and it shows scenes of violence. You have a guy being hanged. You have another person's head that's been cut off and put on a stake. The woman in this picture, you can kind of make it out. She has snakes up here for her hair, okay? This is not something that is saying, hey, isn't France great? Look, they had a revolution to become a republic and create democracy. Isn't that great? No, it's like, this is dangerous. Don't be a part of this. And so it's really trying to make a clear point that the British are also going to claim here that France is kind of falling victim to atheism and perjury and rebellion and treason and anarchy and murder and inequality and madness, cruelty, injustice, treachery, idleness, famine, private ruin, and misery, right? That's kind of what this is talking about. And so, this is in stark contrast with the more conservative nature of the British government, which is what French is doing. They're saying, hey, British liberty, look at how great everything is. We're so smart and we're full of science and we're learning things. French liberty, we're going to kill everybody and cut their heads off and parade through the streets and then hang you and then all of this. So they're really saying, hey, this is bad. The British are saying, religion, morality, loyalty, obedience to the law, national prosperity and happiness, right? And so it's basically saying, where would you want to live? What liberty would you like? Well, obviously they're trying to sell the idea that, hey, you should leave your king in power, right? And that's this is repeated throughout Europe by the other absolute monarchs that are afraid of what would happen if their populations did what France did. French Revolution is also going to have a global impact, and there's some major examples of this that we're going to kind of focus on here. So during the French Revolution, as it's going on in France, word of this is going to get to the French colony of Haiti. And one of the people that hears about the French Revolution is a man named Toussaint Louverture. And you can see an image of Louverture on the left-hand side of this slide here. And so to some, Louverture is, to some extent, he is very much inspired by the rhetoric of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity. And at the time, Haiti was a French colony. And not just a French colony, but it was essentially a slaver colony, right? You had 5% of the population was like white, French people, and the rest of them were slaves that were, working at sugar plantations and all of these things. Well, this leads Louverture to end up leading a slave revolt because slavery is legal in the French colonies, but not in France itself, right? So now France, because of the French Revolution, slavery's bad and there should be no slaves. Every man is an equal citizen. And the slaves in Haiti are going, what about us? And they're like, oh no, slavery's okay over there. And so he was like, oh, no, it's not. They're going to fight, and eventually the colonial government of Haiti will abolish slavery by 1793. And France will end up ratifying that decision, which basically says, hey, yeah, you're right. Sorry, we shouldn't have done that. It's okay for you to abolish slavery. And, this is actually one of the very few good things that comes out of this radical phase. That the French Revolution is going to allow people to abolish slavery in their colonies. So Haiti abolishes slavery officially in 1794, and you're going to see, Louverture and other former slaves are going to be instrumental in helping form the new government of Haiti after the slaves have been set free. However, we kind of foreshadowed that in France, Napoleon Bonaparte is going to come to power. And after he comes to power, Napoleon is really going to start looking at the colonies. And he doesn't like the fact that the colonies, like Haiti, are not producing as much sugar as they used to, right? Because obviously the slaves were freed. And Napoleon decides, hey, these freed slaves, they need to go back into slavery. And I'm guessing it doesn't take its genius to figure out how the former slaves are going to react to that. You've been freed from slavery, and then they come in and they go, oh yeah, that was our bad. We shouldn't have let you free. We're going to need you to go ahead and go back to the plantations and put your chains back on and, give up all your rights again and go back to being slaves. What do y'all think? That doesn't go over well. And so the people of Haiti are actually going to end up pushing back very, very hardly against that, declaring their independence from France in 1804. And clearly the French government is not able to reimpose slavery. So Napoleon ends up sending military troops to try and end the Haitian Revolution for independence, but he's also very busy fighting various countries in Europe at the same time, so he's not able to send the bulk of his army there. And those men that he does send to Haiti, many of them get sick from tropical diseases, and so the army really isn't able to put up much of a fight. They end up capturing Louverture, and unfortunately for him, he does die in prison. But there are other leaders like Jean-Jacques Salim and others who are able to continue to lead the Haitian Revolution to victory. So Haiti is able to break away from France, become an independent nation. It's a great, inspiring story because, of course, they're inspired by the ideas of liberty. Unfortunately for Haiti, the story has kind of a sad ending because the rest of the European governments don't want to trade with Haiti because now it's an independent nation run by former slaves. And they're afraid that if they, work with them and recognize them that as a country, that would encourage the slaves in their colonies to also revolt. And so, again, it's kind of a sad ending for Haiti, and as you know, if you know anything about Haiti today, still not a great place, right? They never really recover. It is still one of the poorest countries in the world. And history can kind of have these horrible twists and turns, but they are able to gain their independence and prove that, hey, these ideas of liberty apply to all men, even black people. Okay, because these black people are the ones who basically take control of this country, and this is a huge step forward. Another part of the world that's inspired by the French Revolution was South America. They're also inspired by the American Revolution as well. So in South America, a man named Simón Bolívar led revolutions in areas of modern-day Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia to help gain independence from Spain. He was inspired by the Americas breaking away from Great Britain, but he was also inspired by the French being able to, in a way, gain independence from their absolute monarchy. And so Spain at the time had an absolutist monarch, and they too were trying to break free from absolutism and gain independence. So Simón Bolívar's plan was he wanted to make these areas, unified together into a single state. But instead, these countries decide they want to remain independent from each other. So he kind of does fail to unify them into a larger state, a larger country, which he believed would be more competitive with, the United States and really be able to mimic the United States as well. He thought instead of having all these different countries in South America, we'll have, the United States of South America kind of idea, But these other countries ended up saying, no, we want to be independent. And so the South American revolutionary emphasis, again, is on liberty. It's on, these liberal ideas coming out of the Enlightenment. Another group was José de San Martin. He also leads revolutions to help Argentina and Chile and Peru gain independence. But they do not institute monarchies as he had hoped. He hoped that they would do something more like the Great Britain model, where you have a constitutional monarchy, so that you still have somebody in control at the head of the government, but answerable to the people. But this doesn't work out for him in that, and that these countries also decide they're going to form republics. And so San Martin does not have his full vision of South America realized. But it is clear that both these men are heavily influenced by the French Revolution and the American Revolution, and that they're trying to bring aspects of liberalism and independence to South America, directly inspired by these other pushes for the same things. And so that's really the very wide-ranging impact that the French Revolution has not only on France itself, but on Europe and in the Americas. And that is the end of this section.